my passion started for creating GDS and being a psychologist because I saw a tremendous need that wasn't being met, and especially in communities where we're based at, which is Washington Heights, Northern Manhattan, and we started off in the South Bronx. And so I always had a passion for helping inner city youth and leveling the playing field. And being a psychologist, I saw the need for mental health services, and I also saw that there was a lack of availability. So how did mental health get into a camp? Because I believe before we can do the intervention and provide the mental health counsel or whatever support, first you have to create a safe haven and a safe space.
Welcome back to another episode of Your Visionary Podcast.
Your Visionary Podcast.
Your Visionary Podcast. Your Visionary Podcast. Visionary Podcast.
Welcome to Your Visionary Podcast. This podcast is specifically for you and your vision. Get ready to grow. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Your Visionary Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Brown, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this episode. I have a really great episode in store for you. This is the first interview of our season 3, titled Finding Peace in Mental Health. And so today we're going to hear from a psychologist, a psychologist who's been doing this work for a really long time. And before I bring him on and tell you more about him, I want to just give you a quick introduction about who you'll be hearing from today. So his name is Dr. Gary. He's a licensed clinical psychologist who has a private practice in South Salem, Upper Westchester, New York. He has an extensive experience in working with emotionally challenged children, adolescents, young adults, and families. He's been nominated for the Changemaker Award for the Child Mind Institute for his work in raising awareness about mental health services. And he's also celebrating his 25th anniversary of his program, which is called Reach Our Potential, GDS, which is something I we'll hear about, but I want to just play this really quick clip about the organization and give you an idea of the work that Dr. Gary does and also the community that he's serving. So bear with me.
You walk out on the street and you can find violence, you can find any of that so easily. But to find somebody who's there willing to help you free of charge, that's like finding an oasis in the desert.
Given the challenges that are going on in the world right now with COVID-19, people are under a lot of stress, an exorbitant amount. And this is especially true for communities that were already underserved, where these inequalities have been drastically exacerbated.
The best thing is to do right now is to advocate and keep fighting for your rights and show your voice, because your voice matters.
We want teens to have a home where they can get help to get ready for college, for jobs, or just for the future. Or just a home where they can come and feel loved and welcomed and stay safe. Also, elders deserve a home where they can feel cared and loved for. That home is GDS, and GDS has actually become a part of my home also.
You can help our movement by spreading awareness on social media or donating to our cause. And you can do that by visiting excelgds.org. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. So amazing. And I'm excited to bring Dr. Gary on. So without further ado, we bring him in. Dr. Gary, how are you doing, sir?
How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for joining me and for your willingness to share your wisdom and your experience with my audience.
Great. Thank you. And just kudos to you for the platform you've created. I think it's really important to raise awareness about mental health and also about the importance of having mentors. So, you know, when I met you and saw the work you do, I think it's awesome. It's right up my alley. So Great job. And that's behind me. You see Excel, which is, as you said very well, Growth and Development Services, the nonprofit I'm the founder of, clinical psychologist. Excel is the core program. And as you said, also the Reach Your Potential program. Oh, that's the other side for you. Yeah. Reach Your Potential. It's, that's our mantra, helping each person individually reach their potential and helping us as a community to reach our potential. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love that. And it's such, it's such important work. And I kind of want to start this episode by just asking you, what got you started with this work?
So when I was in graduate school, I have a degree in clinical psychology, and I saw the need for mental health services, and I saw that there was a huge disparity in the availability for mental health services for inner city teens. And actually, Growth and Development Services (GDS) was first started as with the camp, but it was not just a camp; it was a year-long program, which is the Excel program. The camp is Camp Excel, and the year-long program provides mental health counseling, job readiness, college readiness, mentoring. It's a holistic model. So my passion started for creating GDS and being a psychologist because I saw a tremendous need that wasn't being met, and especially in communities where we're based at it, which is Washington Heights, Northern Manhattan, and we started off in the South Bronx. And so I always had a passion for helping inner city youth and leveling the playing field. And being a psychologist, I saw the need for mental health services, and I also saw that there was a lack of availability. So how did mental health get into a camp? Because I believe before we can do the intervention and provide the mental health counseling or whatever support, first you have to create a safe haven and a safe space. And so I was working in New York City in some different nonprofit organizations. I was working in group homes. I was a psychologist, and I saw a lot of injustices. And I would walk into a group home, and I would see like some of the staff like not feeding the kids because they weren't doing their homework, or banging it's just not what it was, not doing the work properly. So I guess that's when I became an activist, and we created Growth and Development Services because I saw that there was a need to do things in a way that was more effective in helping youth that deserve equal opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. And we talked a little bit before this, just about how you kind of started this in a fairly rough side, of the city. And so I'm curious to know, like, from your experience, what mental capabilities or traits have you noticed that marginalized kids lack versus those kids in more affluent communities?
Well, I think that the youth that we work with are resilient, they're strong, and they have an inner strength. But for that strength to come out, you first have to create a safe space for that. So I think that one of the things that they need first is, quite honestly, hope. Because it's hard to reach out and go for mental health services. It's hard to reach out with the stigma of mental health in certain communities. They're not even willing to. There's a huge stigma to mental health. So I think the first thing is just something that just seems so obvious, but a lot of times is not done, is creating that safe space where you could begin to educate and raise awareness about the importance of mental health. And it's okay to not be okay. And that's really the first step in is really about decreasing the stigma, and then giving youth tools they need to reach their potential, as we say. But it's really hard to reach out if you don't feel a sense of the environment, the community, a collective group, whether it's the school, whether it's the police, whether it's the public officials. Like, the whole community has to be like supportive of this, because it takes a village. So I think that's the first thing you really need, is decreasing the stigma and giving youth tools. They're resilient, but you have to give them tools so they can act on those strengths.
Right. And that kind of brings me to my next question. When you talk about tools, I know one of the tools that you use, but also, other psychologists use, is mindfulness and meditation. Right. So what is your strategy for teaching meditation and mindfulness?
So we have a cadre of volunteers. I practice mantra-based meditation. It's changed my life. And we have yoga and meditation instructors that come in, and it's really doing it. It's really teaching it, and again, creating that space where just to have youth to sit silent for 2 minutes and like realize the power of the breath. Like, we don't stop in our community, and it just never stops. So one of the things that we were trying to do at GDS is bring meditation and mindfulness into schools, especially for inner city teens. It's a game changer, and it just helps all the stress. It lowers the stress level. So we literally teach it. So it's really a step by step, and day by day in our program is practicing it. So first, it's educating the benefits, showing other inner city teens and groups the impact of it, because you're not going to do it if you don't believe in it. So
Right.
there's some resources out there for inner city youth that show the benefits and the impact of meditations.
Sorry to interrupt this podcast. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I want to take a quick moment to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Blemish. Blemish is a tech startup founded in Atlanta and being built in Paris. The one goal of Blemish is to build imperfect people for a better tomorrow. To learn more about how Blemish accomplishes this goal, visit blemish.com. That's BLIMISH.com. If you enjoy hearing from psychologists and learning about the science of the mind, visit blemish.com. If you're ready to start your own mental health journey, or you want to get more information about how to do it, visit blemish.com. If you value personal growth and obtaining information to help you reach your higher self, support our presenting sponsor and visit blemish.com. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So we teach that in our group. We do a weekly group. We do daily meditation, and my organization, we practice it every day.
Yeah. And what are some of those benefits?
Well, benefits is improve school performance, decrease anger, helps with depression, helps with sleep. It helps on so many different benefits that you don't know until you do it. It's sort of like, but you have to do it. That's the hard part. So getting youth to do the practice, or as you may know, doing the practice is the hard part, but it's like lifting weights.
Right.
So we build on that practice. There are so many benefits, but I think the first step is really getting the youth to understand the benefits of it and then showing them.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes me think about like a friend of mine. We were talking about meditation. He told me, he was like straight up, he said, I don't know how to meditate. Right. I don't even know how to do it. And, I only know like what I experienced, but I told him just sit in silence by yourself without doing anything. Close your eyes for, 90 seconds. Right. And just be still.
Right. Well, I think that's one of the things about mantra-based meditation that is really great, is because, people have the thoughts all over and they say, I can't, everyone has ADHD a little bit, so going all over the place. But the thing with mantra-based meditation is that you really can't do it wrong, because it's okay if you start thinking those thoughts, but the mantra is what helps. Let's say the mantra is Om. You keep going back to that mantra and you do, like you're saying, sit for 90 seconds. And I've seen people that have just it's okay. Just go back to the mantra. And then it's okay if you have all these thoughts. The mantra brings you back to the deep below you as you practice it. I don't know what type of meditation you practice, Christian.
Yeah. It's mindfulness meditation. So most of the time I use the Calm app, if that gives you any insight. So most of the time it's just someone just talking through, like, take deep breaths, examine how you feel. Is there anything that, is there any discomfort in your body? If there is, focus on that. Right. Like those type of things.
There's all different types. So I'm like, whatever works. But the thing about mantra-based meditation is just that it's okay if you start thinking these different things. You don't have to. You just keep going back to the mantra.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool. Oh, cool. Well, so next question I want to ask you, right, as we're talking about these tools and these steps and these practices, like, what is some advice that you would give to someone who is struggling, internally with their mental health? What should they do?
Well, first, it's really about finding someone that you could trust, even to talk about the idea of going to counseling, and like having a platform where where you're surrounding yourself with people that believe in mental health counseling. So I mean, number one recommendation is mental health counseling for all of us, but with the stigma attached to it, how do you get someone to go, or how do you get to see the benefit? So that's why I think your platform that you're creating with people from your community and different communities saying like, it's okay. Is it a strength to ask for help, or is it a weakness? And I think that that's, you know, I do a workshop on mental health with professionals from our community, and it's really it's just, I ask that question, you know, is it a strength to ask for help? And if we can't get through that first part of, yes, it's a strength, that's the beginning part of the work.
Wow.
I think there's right now there's in New York City, there's like free mental health counseling, or there's a lot of teletherapy. It's really about, you know, seeking, you know, breaking the stigma and going to counseling. But how do you go to counseling if you see it as a weakness? So I think that it's a strength to ask for help. We all have mental health issues. Part of the reason why I do this work as a clinical psychologist is that when I was a teenager, I was having trouble. My parents were kicking me out of my house. They were sending me away to, you know, boarding school. They, you know, gave me a choice. Either you go to a social worker or we're sending you away. I mean, regular stuff. And I had, you know, when I grew up, I had privilege. I had the opportunity to go to a mental health counselor because I had the means. That's part of why I created GDS, is that we provide free mental health counseling, and, you know, we provide groups, but it's all around the model of, you know, leadership development, you know, youth advocacy and speaking up. But it's, the mental health counseling is like happening, but they don't know it. Like, I don't think traditional go to therapy really necessarily works with inner city teens. That's why I think a program like ours that's holistic, where we have social workers that meet with the youth after the group, they, you know, they help them with everything. But step one is going to mental health counseling. But how do we break that stigma? And we're on our way here, Christian, because you're, you know, that's part of what you're doing, right? While you're doing this.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, like, the first step is to go, because the episode prior to this, it was titled 3 Steps to Prepare for a Mental Health Journey, right? Because I don't think it's something that you just jump right into. Like, it's something that you have to prepare yourself to enter, because it's real work, right? It's not easy. But I think the first step in the episode before this was to identify, right? Like, identify that, one, you're having like a mental weakness or there's an issue, and then identify that there is help out there available. And it's funny to me because I don't see or understand why it's considered a weakness, right? If anything, it's like it should be considered a I almost want to say a cheat code, right? Because it's like everything we see externally is a reflection of what we're experiencing internally. So if there's a way to improve internally, then, you know, just improve this, that'll automatically improve our external, right? But
right, it's like finding a, you know, like I try to tell people, like, think of it like a fine bottle of wine, or, you know, think of it as like, you know, you're giving yourself a treat, you're bettering yourself, like you're helping yourself. The greatest leaders in the world, many of them have been in therapy, or, you know, like you said, you have to, 95% of what we do is unconscious. I mean, hold me to that statistic, but it's pretty sure that we're operating from our past. So to gain, you know, I say to gain insight as to the way we operate, awareness, insight, and then change. But before that is the acceptance that you have to not have to go, see it as more like it could benefit from me. But if you feel like I have to go, that's like, you feel like it's like won't be okay if I don't go. There are people that have to go. They're depressed. They're not getting out of bed. They could, you know, but then there's people that could really benefit from it, and they don't realize that all the stuff that you say is going on internally. And then just concretely speaking, it's also challenging sometimes, because what happens if you go to a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor, and you don't like them? Like, you could go on to the, you know, like, you know, it's hard to find a good match, and it's okay if you go and you don't. I always tell people, you go, I coach them to go, I support them, I get them in. I said, listen, after you go, give me a call and let's see if, you know, if it's a match, and if it's not, then maybe you can find another clinician at the clinic, or maybe you could, you know, it's like you don't have to be married to the person.
Right.
It's a unique relationship. So hopefully you obviously have a match with your clinician and the person you're working with.
Yeah, I do. And it's funny because this wasn't the first one I tried. Like the first one I went to, it just, the energy, it wasn't, I could just tell it wasn't, it wasn't a match, right?
And you need
Just
that
as you can
energy.
do. Yeah.
You
Just as
need
you can do, like when you're dating, you could tell if someone's not going to be, a good relational partner for you. It's the same
right,
with,
and it's hard because they're a doctor, or like they're an authority. And part of the whole
yeah.
issue of going to therapy is like, how can I tell this person no? Or it's like, it's just, it's a dynamic where you feel like almost you have to go, but you don't have to go to that person. You have a choice. But if your issue is not feeling good enough about yourself or strong enough, then how do you know, like, this, I can go on to the next one? Like, it's where unfortunately, there's a lot of people that go, all it takes is one negative experience, and there are no, and then they, it's frustrating because then they don't go back. So I'm
Right.
glad
Right.
you,
Yeah.
I'm glad you had the courage to go back and, advocate for yourself, which is really about self-advocacy.
Yeah, that's so important. I want to encourage, listeners who may have had a negative experience in therapy to just realize and know that, there are more people out there, and, you will find your match. Have you experienced that? Like, have you seen that the more people, I guess, look for that match, like they always find it? Would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people, like, if you go to call a prospective clinician and they don't call you back like within 24, 48, because people like, I mean, that's a sign, right? Like, if someone
Yeah.
doesn't call you back. So I've seen a lot of people that get turned away and don't go back, and I'm like, I'm there to coach them. Like, your question was, what do you need? You need like to surround yourself with someone like you, like a friend of yours that was going to go to therapy, like encourage them. And then when they go, like, just be a mentor to them for that. Like, we all need mentors. That's another, so you need like a mentor, someone else that's in therapy, someone else that's doing it, because you could feel like surround yourself with those people. Whatever you do, you have to surround yourself with those people. Surround yourself with people that meditate. Surround your people that believe in mental health. Surround yourself that are positive, and as I know you do.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that. And so as we get to the end of this episode, I want to ask you this, right? So say there's someone out there who is who has benefited from mental health services, and they're like, okay, I'm in a position in my life now where I feel like I'm, becoming healthier, and I want to, go back and help, right? I want to pick up my torch and help make a difference, in my community, in other communities, when it comes to mental health, and wellness. What would you tell them?
That's great. I mean, I think to become, for growth and development services, GDS, I mean, we're always looking for new people to be part of our team. And, there are a lot of different ways that you could get involved. I think one of the best ways is to start off to being a mentor, and, to give back to the community. And I think one of the great things about our mentoring program is we provide a lot of training, because, it's not easy being a mentor, listening to others, and you need the right support. So one way that, if anyone wants to make an impact on, on their community now with virtually, you could do it all different ways, but we have a mentoring program. We also are always looking for new people to join our team, in terms of being on the advisory council or be involved in the board. One of the great things about being part of a small nonprofit like we are, is that you could, you really get hands-on. You really to get to be part of the team. And as you see the website, excelgds.org, you could visit the website. I'm sure Christian will put up my information. So a great way to get involved is to give back, and we're always looking for new people to join our team. We have our 25th anniversary coming up on November 8th. We're going to be 25 years old. We're looking for new community space. You could help us find new community space for our mental health counseling. And we're looking for new people to help make sure that this organization continues on for, decades to come.
Yeah, I love that, and congratulations on 25 years. That's so amazing. And I'm curious, this is the last question. I know I said the last one will be the last question, but it's just sparked a new thing in my mind. So 25 years, 25 years in a space where you're, giving back to a community. that doesn't get a lot of love, right? And focusing on mental health and wellness, what is one thing that you've learned throughout your journey that has proved invaluable?
Adversity builds resilience. Adversity builds strength. And the youth are, many of the youth we work with, they're stronger than I'll ever be. You have to give hope. What I've learned is like, one caring adult can change your life. One caring adult. You're caring about your community. You could introduce us to someone else, but you could mentor one caring adult. It takes one at a time to change someone's life. And that sounds extreme, but I've seen it in 25 years. Youth call me back from 20 years ago. And, I'm so lucky I get to hear from the alumni. And for this 25th, where we're actually reconnecting with a lot of Camp Excel alumni and volunteers. And I'm honored to be part of a group of people that, it's all about resilience and strength. So the one thing is hope. We have to give hope. If you don't have hope, there's all these leadership development programs. There's all these different coaching things. But the things that I feel like a lot of these corporate, like first step for youth that have been so marginalized and not given equal, treatment. And like I say, it's like playing basketball with a hockey stick. I mean, you first have to level the playing field, which I think then that opens the door for hope and resilience. And the youth are amazing. They're our future. So they're great kids.
Love that. Adversity builds strength. I love that. So Dr. Gary, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, please reach out to Dr. Gary. We connected through LinkedIn. And so I'll put his LinkedIn information in the show notes, but reach out to him. Go to the website that you see on your screen and just reach out, whether you're someone seeking mental health counseling or whether you're someone who wants to give back to others who are seeking mental health counseling. Just reach out and do something because, your voice matters. And I'm sure Dr. Gray would agree.
Definitely.
Cool. Thank you everybody for watching another episode of Your Visionary Podcast. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace and love.